Ryan, what are you doing over there?
They're crossed. If we just had the BET, we wouldn't need all these wires.
I have comments about the BET.
I have a lot about the BET.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Autopod Decepticast. This is your host, Aaron, and joining me are the milk to my lemonade. Gentlemen, please say hi.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
Hi, I'm Caleb.
And, joining us is a very special guest from around the corner.
I take true offense to that. Why am I around the corner?
And her name is the love of my life, Melody.
Hi, guys.
And she is going to be participating in the show here for the next few episodes. Let me just set this up for a second. If this is your first time listening, welcome, by the way. For the last year and a half, we have earned our reputation as the most esteemed experts in the 1986 animated Transformers movie. And I will qualify that by saying most esteemed really in all of the Ozarks, which includes greater Southwest Missouri and, to be fair, Northwest Arkansas. I'd say certainly we'd be unchallenged by anybody in the Salem Plateau, the St. Francois Mountain region. I also feel good about our standing in the Boston Mountains, but there might be some up-and-comers in the Springfield Plateau, which I'd argue is the most populous area of the Ozarks. So
I'd say we're definitely champions over Northeast Oklahoma because they're all illiterate.
Oh!
Shots fired.
So if you live in these regions and believe you've got the knowledge, come at us. We're not scared. But if you came here for that minute-by-minute minutia, then you can find it in almost any other episode, but not this one and not the next few, I say, because we're dedicating ourselves, the next few episodes, to the... how should I say, right-wing redneck uncle to our robots in disguise. Yes, if Transformers the movie is the Dixie Chicks, the movie we're about to talk about is going to be Toby Keith. In fact, legend has it that the script to this movie was handwritten on the back of a gift shop copy of the Declaration of Independence. Mm-hmm. Of course, what are we talking about?
Oklahoma?
That's where the wind goes whipping down the plane.
I'm confused.
We're talking about G.I. Joe the movie.
Oh.
Yo, Joe.
Yeah.
Yo, Joe.
And we, Autopod Decepticast plus honorary member Melody, are going to be breaking down this movie over the course of... Well, my notes here say 3, but it's actually going to be at least 4. And maybe we'll stretch it. Who knows? We really love to stretch content.
Gotta build that tent.
So this episode, we're going to cover kind of just an overview of G.I. Joe the movie, as well as get into that amazing intro sequence.
We're going to start wading into this universe.
So essentially the first, 5-6 minutes?
The Joe-verse.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
The Joe-verse.
Sure.
I like where you're going with that. So let's do a G.I. Joe overview, or as I would like to call it, a G.I. Joverview.
Yeah. That's my guy.
God.
That's my guy.
He's been practicing pronunciation on that one.
I saw it coming, and I loved it.
Thanks, Caleb, for your support. Yeah. How are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Let me just. What's up?
I do have. You mentioned the South and like the Arkansas and stuff. West and I were trying to make shrimp and grits, and it is impossible to find non-instant grits in this town. And I'm like, well, I don't know why we get to have all the racism but none of the food. It was just like, it's the best I could do is find 5-minute grits.
It's fine.
That's because this isn't the deep enough South for it to...
I guess.
I mean, how long does it take to make grits?
20 minutes about.
Oh, okay. So you want the additional 15 minutes to really get the experience?
No, it wasn't that. It was more the cooking process. Instant grits are already cooked. You're just rehydrating them. Yeah. And regular grits, part of the recipe was you could cook them with other things. And so to just rehydrate them, it wouldn't have really worked. But I did learn that 5-minute grits are just finer ground than non-instant grits. So I just altered the time I cooked it. And this really boring ass story.
Was it good? I love grits.
This is great.
Shrimp and grits is amazing.
Yeah, shrimp and grits.
You got to get them low country grits.
Ooh,
Yeah.
all right.
I prefer the high country grits myself.
Well,
Mid country for me.
we somehow made this interesting. only to me.
all of our UK fans are like, what the fuck is
What
that?
the fuck is a grit? Like my cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Well, they talk. If you want to know more about grits, rent the classic John Wayne movie True Grit. It talks all about grits.
It's also
True grits.
also known as polenta. It's polenta.
They don't have corn across the sea, do they?
I'm sure they do now.
That was the Columbian Exchange. That was our gift to the world. You're welcome.
Yeah, and coffee.
Our gift? We're Native American.
Grits across the world.
We're the invaders. We're the colonizers.
I feel like that's in the Declaration of Independence.
We
as
white
well.
people gave grits to the world. Yeah. Yep.
Did you know that
God, we're so giving.
We give.
the Europeans decimated, the native population with herpes and stuff? The only disease that was transferred over to Europe was herpes. Yeah.
So
You're welcome.
grits are the herpes of the world.
Wow.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yep.
I mean, I do have grits about 5 times a year.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot of outbreaks.
Got to flare up. Got a grit flare up.
So, Melanie,
We've already gone off the rails. This
G.I.
is great.
Joe.
Yeah. Yo,
Now,
Joe.
you participated in one episode of the Autopod Decepticast with us. That was a fun, wine-filled adventure, as I recall. But I felt like you don't really love Transformers, but it felt like you were excited, a little passion to talk about G.I. Joe. Why? What is that?
Wow.
What's your background with G.I. Joe?
Seriously, why?
So I am a child of the 80s, a latchkey kid, lots of babysitting, lots of different people taking care of me. And my babysitters loved to sit us in front of the television.
Yeah.
And so my favorite moments as a child was the moments I came home after school, sat down with some sort of, after school snack and watched G.I. Joe. So G.I. Joe, He-Man, I forget what else,
But not Transformers?
but not Transformers.
What about She-Ra?
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to remember, afternoon programming, I'd come home. There was always G.I. Joe was always on. I honestly, for some reason, can't place Transformers in the afternoon, even though it might have been
It was.
there. Okay.
It was on as soon as I got off the bus, it was on television.
Mhm.
I had to
G.I.
race
Joe.
home to not miss the first 5 minutes of it.
He-Man. And then it was one way or another. It would either then move into or move out of MASH.
Of course, MASH was in heavy rotation.
God, it was
Boom, 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 boom.
It was heavily syndicated, and so it would either cartoons would either coming out of MASH or going into MASH. And,
Our childhood is just bookended
by MASH.
by the Korean War.
yeah, pretty much.
That was a much deeper answer than I expected. I was thinking because of all the hot guys that are in G.I. Joe, every character is
So-
handsome to the
So yeah,
max.
So we didn't think that you would right. So
Well, here's the thing.
What the fuck?
Think about. I mean, I don't know.
I'm just
what you
kidding,
said,
first of all.
but I was a child, so I wasn't thinking of anyone as hot, but I was thinking of people as cool. Oh, Thundercats! Hello, we should
Thundercats,
mention
yeah.
that.
Oh.
So I spent a lot
They were
of time acting
scary.
out those cartoons. In
You were
my
acting them out?
neighborhood. Yeah, I was a Thundercat for sure.
Right.
I had sticks,
cool.
so we were holding them in the air, beating people with them.
That's awesome.
But it was fun to. In my mind and in my community, we needed some funds that we acted all that stuff out, and we were not watched. very closely.
Sure.
So
Yeah, you were
Gen
saying,
X had
you
a
were
lot of
saying
neglect.
latchkey, but that means
Well-
you were making you're alluding that you actually had a door.
right, or that it locked,
Yeah,
or that I actually had the key. I mean, at any given day, I was somewhere in my neighborhood being watched by someone other than my family or my parents. But you know what? That was the 80s, right?
Yeah,
Everyone,
pretty much. I was a
wasn't
latchkey
everyone
kid.
raised that way?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was the best. I loved being alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not love being alone, but we did have a gang of children in the neighborhood that got together and, got in trouble.
I didn't have really any kids on my block until probably around 88 or 89, so I'd be about 10 at that point. So before
Wow.
that, yeah.
Where did you live?
I lived in it. We moved to a block that had a lot of older people on it, and it's really similar to where we live now. that the boys don't have a lot of kids in the area. And so, like, what happened in my neighborhood is a lot of the old people, like, died, and then younger people moved in. So
You're just constantly being offered hard candy and lemonade.
So one time,
Okay.
we did have across the street that we did have some, I take that back. Right across the street was the Ellingsworths, and they had a girl that was my sister's age. And then some kids moved in down the street that were into building stuff. But anyway, we were at my house one day, and the lady across the street, Frida, she asked us, I don't remember how it happened, but we agreed to rake her yard and be compensated for it. And so we busted our ass raking her yard, and in return she gave us each like some change and I'm not making this up, some really old stale muffins, and then a bag of peanut M&Ms that had cockroaches.
So she just cleaned out her car and gave you what was in it.
So you're not too far from the truth, really. I mean, it's hard candy. But eventually they died and some more kids moved in. And then
Thank God.
I'm waiting. I know. And I'm waiting for the same thing that happened to my current neighborhood. I'm waiting for them to die and so some kids can move in so my kids can have fun. Yo, Joe!
So speaking of kids, and we'll transition to Joe, I didn't really have a lot of G.I. Joes. I think I had a handful of characters, maybe one of the cheaper vehicles. Mm-hmm. Caleb, I think you probably had
quite
more of a collection.
I didn't have a huge
anybody.
collection, but I didn't have a huge collection, but I had a really good all-around collection. I started out, the first figure I ever got was Rock and Roll, which is one of the originals. I had Rock and Roll, Gung Ho. I did the mail order hooded Cobra Commander. Mm-hmm. I had a tank driver, and I forget his name. I had like the, and I'm saying this now. I don't remember the technical names for the toys that I got, but I had like their standard like Abrams tank. I had the tank driver, and then I had the G.I. Joe base. I had the G.I. Joe Dune Buggy, so you could fit the tank and the Dune Buggy in the base. I know I had some other ones, but then also eventually I got the Cobra, the black tank. Was it called the Asp?
Hiss, I think.
The Hiss. So, I rounded out. I got the Hiss and a driver for that, so that I had a pretty good all-around. I could create a pretty good, basic battle situation.
What would that look like? I mean, was there a lot of like pew pew sound effects? Was it like how would you
act it out right now?
What was the course of play?
Well, usually you have the base set up somewhere, and you might lay a blanket down to give you some kind of some topography, and then eventually the tank would come around one side. Usually it happened really slow because you're thinking, okay, so in this situation, this is going to happen. I wasn't the kind of guy that was like
the commercials,
like like crashing 70. I was thinking about it not.
You're playing Axis and Allies with it.
Well, I was kind of.
All right, this is the invasion of Normandy.
I liked positioning them in certain ways, and then just kind of thinking about specific situations in that. There it is.
I think that's the Hiss.
Yeah,
that's what I had.
We're looking at a website called newtoyplanet.com, and they have G.I. Joe and Cobra V.
I don't know what Hiss stands for because G.I. Joe's very into acronyms. Yeah. Everything's an acronym.
There's the tank I had. That's the motorized battle tank. That tank was so cool. You would move it forward, and it would automatically move, and you could turn the turret. And then
did the treads move?
Yeah, the treads move, and it would turn. It was a really cool toy. But
I wish I knew somebody that had this.
Absolutely.
Goddamn,
I forget
the aircraft carrier.
Somebody around here
USS Flag.
At some point.
So it's about the setup, then a little action.
Yeah.
But the action is very strategically scripted.
I was pretty delicate with
You took care of your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And
well, and you were playing by yourself?
I was.
So if you had other
in that old neighborhood,
you probably would have been.
Yeah, possibly.
You should have invited some of the old, no doubt, veveran neighbors over to.
I should have been.
Frida?
I should have invited Frida to come over.
Frida, yeah.
She'd be like, I actually remember the war.
I
had my
husband was shot in the war or something. No, what would you say?
You could have put her cockroaches in your vehicle.
Yeah, go. Frida, bring over some cockroaches.
I absolutely don't think you should have invited Aaron to play because he liked to break things.
That was the story that's the story that I was going to go into. So I had a handful of G.I. Joes, but they were basically used in support of any Transformers play that I was doing. So if I had a G.I. Joe, he might be a stand-in for Spike or Sparkplug or something. But or other random things we would do. that some were associated with school, and one in particular was that we had to build. We were doing a unit on, I think was the Middle Ages, and we had
and gifted,
to. And so this is probably 6th grade, and so a bunch of people came over to my house, including a neighbor kid that I was friends with named David. And he had a bunch of G.I. Joes and brought some of those over in support of what we were doing, which was building a castle.
Yeah, we were at my house.
We were trying to build a castle. Was it at your house? I thought it was at my house.
Nope.
At any rate, we were building a castle out of wood and stuff and setting up, all the traps that a castle would have, like where you're going to pour the oil out. And I remember David, who was a friend of mine. He lived in my grandmother's neighborhood. I would hang out with him quite a bit.
It seems like more of a frenemy.
Well, I would hang out with him quite a bit, but there was points in time when I wasn't that very nice to him. And this is one of those points. He was spending a lot of time building a battering ram, as I recall. What we were doing, we had G.I. Joes, so we're building this castle, but we were also taking tinfoil and making art. We were trying to turn the G.I. Joes into middle-aged warriors. Middle-aged warriors. Sitting on the couch with a TV guide.
That's us, dude.
That's right.
We're the middle-aged warriors.
But I don't know what he was doing that annoyed me, but something that wasn't worth what I did to him, which was I took a hammer and just smashed his Serpentor's head. Yep. I just smashed the toy with a hammer. I don't know why I did it.
I was getting ready to say that I didn't share my toys a lot with these guys. And his story just answered that.
Why?
I was good to my toys. I didn't treat my toys like that. I didn't even take my toys out and play in the sand like they do in the commercials. Like, that's stupid. Yeah. But so anyway,
not stupid, but it's a choice.
I bashed that Serpentor's head in of his, and he started crying. And I immediately felt bad, as you do. Yeah. And
you were very reactionary.
I ended up having to go to the store and use my own money, and I bought him a new one. Thankfully, they had one in there, so I got him a new character and replaced it. He had it within a week, if not less. And so, but yeah, I just vindictively. That's one of the top 5 worst things I think I've ever done in my life.
I get it. Boys get energized, and they'll react.
Wow.
Well, you're an incomplete human. Your brain's not really functioning.
You'll react, and then you regret it, and you just don't realize what you're doing.
I didn't do stuff like that a lot.
No,
I guess I had anger.
You get excited. You get excited, and
But I didn't destroy other people's property very often, if at all. That was just an accident. That was an accident through the course of play.
That was
Have
a
you
science
already
experiment.
told that story?
I don't know.
I don't know. Basically, it was my brother's Slinky, and we took it out in the yard.
And how old were we?
Oh, it's about the same. Like maybe 8
I think
or
we
9.
were younger.
Maybe 8 or 9.
3. We were 3.
You're always.
We were 2 years old.
I know exactly. I never remember when anything took place.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, you were young, and
we took the Slinky out in the yard, and Aaron's like, "Let's see how far we can stretch it." So we stretch it between each other, and he's like, "Now let go," and we both let go, and it became a tangled mess of that is never going to function.
Tangled,
again.
unusable.
And the
bundle
tag
of
on
coils.
it. The tag to this story is Aaron goes, "Huh." That's what happened last time.
I was like one of those definition of insanity kids.
Well, you were
over and over again.
To be fair, you were doing the scientific method.
It
has to be repeatable.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. Okay, Ryan, do you have any G.I. Joe youth memories?
I want to quickly preface with
Go ahead, Caleb.
my collection that sadly my mom sold my whole collection in a garage sale, and I remember to this day that she sold it to Brett Welcome for $15.
Who's that?
So we're coming to find
A
you.
guy that I remember in Nixa, and there's nothing wrong with them, but they sold the whole collection for $15.
Wow.
I still have those because they were separated from that and in a drawer. Somewhere I have my hooded Cobra Commander, and somewhere I have my rock and roll. I mean, the rock and roll was one of the first, 3-inch sized characters.
3 3/4. Here we go.
Rock and roll.
1982 is the first year these things came out. Which one is rock and roll?
He's the blonde right there.
This guy?
He was an M16 gunner. That's him.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
I'm looking at a website called yojo.com, and they have all the figures 3 3/4 by year. You can kind of see the waves and how they come out. And so we're looking at rock and roll V1. They must have made a new version of him later.
Yeah, they did. I'm pretty sure I have the 82 version. I don't know if I have the 82 or the 84 version, but Anyway, what I'm really proud of is the hooded Cobra-Commander. Because you had to mail that
that's
off.
Awesome.
But anyway.
Yeah,
But-
so yeah, you can.
So I don't have any.
question.
Yeah.
Did you ever confront your parents about that?
Oh yeah. I did.
He doesn't talk to them to this day.
Did you say, number one, you owe me $15?
I told my mother that she's
My
dead.
money.
I told my mother she's dead to me. Yeah.
She's never seen her grandkids.
No, she did. I mean, at the time, like they were selling stuff, and she just didn't think about it. And
It's like that old story. I
It's
feel like
fine,
somebody, like their parent threw out their, comic books or baseball cards. It was before like
But you
keeping
didn't throw out
things
your
was a thing.
Transformers though, because your Transformers collection is here at
Well,
my house.
Yep.
I know. Yeah, I think what basically happened was like she I wasn't playing with them anymore. I don't remember when she did it, but it was still pretty early on.
Oh.
And
It's 2 months after you got them.
and I think basically, she just didn't know. I wouldn't play with them anymore. And it's very possible that she did kind of check with me, and I wasn't.
I was gonna say, it seems
you're a
weird that she wouldn't
teenager,
mention it.
Yeah, because my mom doesn't get rid of anything without asking me, and so it's possible, in retrospect, that maybe I said sure, but then after it happened, then I regretted that it happened. So
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah, and you still have He-Man toys.
We kept all the He-Man stuff. A lot of my
Maybe
old
she
stuff.
just hated the jingoistic nature of G.I. Joe.
Perhaps it was interesting. But there's the hooded Cobra-Commander.
Yep, mail in.
I
That is
will-
from Hooded Cobra-Commander was 1984 when you'd have to mail in for
And
that.
I will post this on our website, but Caleb did a great Cobra Commander costume for one of my Halloween parties.
I did.
Yeah.
I
Was your wife the Baroness?
No,
then?
she
No,
wouldn't
she
be the
doesn't
Baroness.
want to be the Baroness. I did put together a really good hooded Cobra-Commander outfit. I got. Oh,
I don't find it on Facebook.
Shockingly.
I think
I think was that the year I was old Greg?
I think so.
I drank too much that night. I'm not proud of myself that evening. So
There
that-
were pictures of
But you had a
you.
hood on, right?
Nope.
there were pictures I forced Ryan to take off of Facebook from that night.
Yeah.
Of you?
And Caleb.
I mean,
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
no,
know.
I was
like, I don't need any employers
no,
coming across
no, certainly
this.
not. And I'm just not proud of it. And Andy was very disappointed in my behavior as well. So
I don't remember much specifically
That
about
was
that
many
behavior,
years
but
ago.
Yeah,
a
it
long
was
time ago.
Yeah.
we were in our early 30s,
That's
probably.
before I knew you guys.
Yeah, it was like 2010 or something.
I would have been disappointed too.
yeah, it's not good.
Also,
I learned
stellar
lessons.
old Greg costume.
No,
It
the
was
costumes were on point. Our
My behavior.
Our behavior, on the other hand, not good.
I don't really recall.
Exactly.
So, to answer your question, my G.I. Joe stuff, my brother was actually, my brother's 6 years younger than I am. My brother was more into G.I. Joe than I was. But in watching the movie, I did kept, there's your tip. I did keep remembering that I had certain G.I. Joes. Like I had Dial Tone, I had Serpentor at one point. I had Mainframe.
Dial tone.
The lamest,
The loneliest Transformer.
or G.I. Joe.
Oh God, yeah.
Either way.
Whatever.
Dial Tone sounds like he would run a 900 sex talk line.
He transforms into an answering machine.
Solid joke. That's my. I mean, but I my other memory of it is I remember taking some of my sister's dolls and like laying G.I. Joe on top of them.
Of course, you had to get.
And my mother
What a
found
weird fantasy that could lead to, or like
Gigantic women?
Yeah, how does that reflect itself in modern times?
and I remember my mom finding it. I'd left it on like my floor or whatever, and she's like, "What is this?" And she knew what it was. I'm like, "Why are you embarrassing me like this?" I never.
Ma, the dolls are fucking.
Yo, Joe.
He's on shore leave, you bitch. Oh.
You loved Dice Clay so much when you were a
Absolutely.
kid.
Yeah.
The Dice Man was your hero. You had posters
When
of
Ryan-
him all over your wall.
Little Miss Muffet.
When Ryan got backed into a corner, he'd always convert over to dice.
To your point, Melody, talking about like not thinking like the cartoon characters were hot. I didn't think cartoon characters were hot necessarily either, but I did like want them to be my fun girlfriend. Like I wanted Rainbow Bright to be my girlfriend and Fern from.
Same. She is so cute. Look at that.
Absolutely.
She's a unicorn, right? She rides on.
I don't know.
Who?
Rainbow Bright.
Yeah, and Starbright. Of course. Yeah, exactly.
But what about like Jessica Rabbit when that came out?
Well,
We're a
that
lot
messed with my
older.
head.
yeah, that was
I
the
wasn't
90s.
that much older.
That was like
Oh, yes,
92.
it's
No, I feel
But
like
that was-
it was
they-
not. I believe it was
Let's just-
1988.
88.
Let's just
Oh,
be
maybe.
That's significantly.
Let's just be clear. Jessica Rabbit was putting it out there a little harder than Rainbow Bright.
She was
Okay,
working it.
all right.
It's true. Rainbow Bright was was a childlike.
1988. We would have been in 4th or 5th grade.
We would have been 10
We would have been. Yeah.
when everything happened to me.
I remember feeling embarrassed watching that. Like, I knew it was like sexy. And I was like embarrassed to watch it in front of my grandma, kind of thing.
What about the booby trap scene?
Was that assault? I'm trying to remember what happened there. Was
Yeah,
it a weasel?
yeah, the weasel was
put
definitely
his
doing her
hands down
cleavage.
her boobs, but she had a bear trap in it.
It's a booby trap.
Bob Hostin says, "Nice booby trap."
Yeah,
okay.
That's kind of sexist.
I think we should do the next. Let's just abandon this and talk about Roger Rabbit for an hour and a half. I love that movie.
But
We could do rabbits. At
Let's
some
talk
point.
about G.I. Joe.
Okay,
Yo, Joe.
So I think it's time. I wish we had a sound effect for this. It's time for our GI Joverview.
You have to add one.
Wow, got one more bite at the apple there.
I figured we'd edit out the old bite at the apple
Okay.
to make it seem like a
It could
fresh
be like it should be like somebody like thinking it's a great idea to yell "Yo, Joverview," but as they finish it, they realize how bad it is.
Yo, Joe.
View. Yo, Joverview.
Now Ryan will take that. He'll put some
Freaking-
sound effects on it. Boom, bing.
Had a big explosion.
Bada boom, bada bing.
Had a big explosion at the end
Hey,
of it.
Dice Man.
Big explosion.
So G.I. Joe the movie was released April 20th. I don't know. I wrote April 20th, 2987.
You fell apart.
It came from the future.
Was that last night? Did you write
Yeah.
that last night?
Yeah. No, G.I. Joe the movie was released April 20, 1987. This was arguably peak G.I. Joe time. It was originally intended to come out before Transformers, the movie, but it was beset with production delays. I tried to research what those delays
Don
were,
Johnson's
and I
fault.
couldn't.
It's all
He was
Don
just being a
Johnson.
prima donna.
Ow.
I couldn't find exactly what those production delays were, so I gave up after 5 minutes of Googling, to be honest. But it might be in the commentary. I'll have to watch and listen to the commentary. But both Transformers and My Little Pony the movie, they had theatrical releases, and as we discussed during our credit sequence to Transformers the movie, because those were such financial
tanked.
disasters, it forced this movie to be released direct to home video.
video.
And then a
VHS.
gem movie that was in
Baby.
early stages of production just got scrapped entirely.
Which sucks.
It's
Because
true. I would
think
love
that
to see
I
the gym
think
movie.
that I've said this before.
I wanted Jim to be my girlfriend too.
I thought, yeah, you know what? I thought I was attracted to the girls in gym. I was attracted to the bad girls in gym.
The Misfits.
The misfits.
We are the Misfits.
Yeah, I found like exactly. I think that the soundtrack for the gym movie would have probably been amazing.
I've said this before, but I love the name Jerica for a girl.
I don't.
All right. Yeah, I'm curious. Like, if
The Misfits all look like David Bowie to me.
androgynous,
She's my favorite misfit, the one with the white hair.
the white hair,
Was she actually she was like the nice one.
No,
No,
the blue haired.
the blue hair. I can't remember her name, but she's like the. I'm not quite sure I want to be evil girl.
Yeah, I'm just kind of. She's just really easily persuaded by social pressure. That's what it is. Did you watch Jim?
I did.
Yeah.
I watched Gem. Yeah. I loved Gem dolls, but I was always so agitated when I got Gem dolls instead of Barbies because you couldn't share clothes.
Because
So-
they're all bigger than Barbie.
That's
That was
right.
like their advertising.
Yeah,
Well,
no one wanted a doll that was bigger than Barbie because you had a ton of Barbies
Have-
and only one Gem doll. And so
You couldn't. So yeah,
and Gem was like a giant and she didn't get to do the same things as
So they were
Barbie.
solving a need that didn't exist.
Yeah.
They were like, girls are just walking around wanting taller dolls than a
No,
Barbie.
She couldn't drive
Well,
the Barbie.
she wouldn't fit in the
car.
Barbie
Corvette.
She couldn't stand up in the elevator for the dream
she was
house.
awkward
like-
at parties.
Why can't they just be-
Hey, Barbie, how's it
Yeah, I mean,
going?"
I
she
think
was like
they can
what we
fit into
did-
the Barbie universe. They're just Amazonian.
But nobody wanted that. We wanted to be just like Barbie. We didn't want to be like broad-shouldered Gem.
Oh!
It's
Well,
true.
And Jim actually was Hasbro created her specifically because Barbie was coming out with Barbie and the Rockers.
Barbie,
wow.
Oh,
Yep.
and the
missed
Rockers.
That's courtesy
Did
of
they
the
beat-
Toys That Made Us. I
Did
learned
they
that.
beat Barbie and the Rockers
Yes,
to market?
they beat it to market.
wow.
Soundly.
Good for
Because
them.
they're cool looking.
Good for them.
I love them. I love
And then
them.
it made like Barbie seem like they were reacting.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but they
love
still
it.
lost.
It was like it was corporate
They did
espionage.
You're
I
right.
think we should consider like doing a gym episode and having.
I would like
the
that.
ladies
Have Andy
invite
come in.
Wes.
Yeah, have a gym.
Did West care about Jim?
I think I liked Jim more than she did.
Yeah,
No,
but she's younger.
She's a young.
Oh, she is younger.
Andy liked Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, I this is a dumb joke, but
Oh, God.
it'd
Okay.
it'd be funny if there was just another cartoon called Jim, but it was
J.I.M..
J.I.M. Jim.
That's not even a
Jim.
joke. Like
Jim
that's just,
truly.
I think you
Average.
made that joke during the Autopod Decepticast.
Did I really?
I think you did.
I don't know why. It's
not even
such a non-joke.
formed.
I just like the idea that we're talking about Jim, and it's like this guy.
So this movie, G.I. Joe was basically a cousin to Transformers the movie. Like the production staff, they crossed ideas all the time, which is why,
Yeah.
like basically, I learned Transformers the movie. They were killing Optimus Prime, and then G.I. Joe the movie decided they were going to kill Duke.
Right.
And then, everybody knows whenever Transformers came out, they changed the idea.
Because like, oh no,
Which I have a lot more to talk about that. I don't want to. We'll talk about that whenever we see Duke die. But I'm interested.
no, when he gets put into a coma.
Exactly.
Ryan.
But I'm curious if if G.I. Joe the movie had come out first, do you think Transformers would have gotten a theatrical release? I don't think so.
Probably. Well, I guess I don't know which came out first, G.I. Joe or Transformers or My Little Pony,
My Little Pony
the
did.
movie. So
And Rainbow
then-
Bright had something to do with it too. That
Okay,
did not do
so
well.
if Transformers was last on the release schedule, then you're right.
Yeah.
I think probably. Unless the G.I. Joe the movie for some reason just killed it in the theater,
Which I don't think it would have.
Indications were that
I
it
don't
would
think
have. So direct-to-video release. It was also shown on television at around
Mm-hmm.
the same time it was released in both feature-length and multi-part miniseries formats. Because of that, it's difficult to track the financial success of the movie. So I don't really know if this movie from video sales was deemed successful. But if we come across that, I suppose we will.
It's
talk
weird
about it.
because after this movie, Joe didn't have a third season. They only had 2 seasons in the movie.
That's sort of right and sort of wrong in that I think Marvel Sumbo will have to get into the research on this. So sorry if this is wrong, but they lost the license rights to do the cartoon. And it got picked up by a different animation production company. So there were more seasons of G.I. Joe after the movie. They were just created by a different production
Just some
company.
scramble
and
city
they
situation.
did, and they did address some of the situations in the movie. Like I believe the Baroness did find Cobra Commander and bring him
Whoa.
back to human form and all of that.
Spoilers for this
I
movie.
I remember watching those post-movie cartoons, or as Caleb would call them, G2. Sorry.
It's a callback to something that doesn't connect with anything we've talked about.
Unless we've edited it out, go listen to TF University's Transformers the Movie
You know what?
episode.
I did my best.
That's all we expect of you.
Thank you.
And it's not much.
The bar's low.
I don't
They
know why I come
so
up
they
with
did pick up on some of the themes and storylines, but did their own thing. The animation style is very similar. It was actually pretty good quality, but I can't remember the names of those companies. But it just wasn't Marvel something.
I will say, as far as this movie, the animation quality is consistently better than Transformers the movie.
I said that.
Yeah.
I said that, and you were like, "What?"
When did you say that?
That I thought the animation was better.
I don't think it's better. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's consistently better. Like the highs of Transformers are better than G.I. Joe, but the lows are way lower. Like Transformers is all over the map, whereas this is very consistently serviceable. There's nothing spectacular aside from the opening we're going to talk about in a minute.
So, do you think the highest highs in Transformers are better than?
Absolutely. Like especially
Okay.
like the whenever.
No, I agree with
In
you.
Like
particular,
the
I'm
Unicron
thinking
transformation.
I agree.
that and like when Prime faces Megatron, that first part. Yeah.
But as a general average,
yes, as an average,
G.I.
G.I.
Joe's
Joe's
And even
better.
the opening to Transformers the movie is really high quality.
which we're going to
animation
talk
as well.
about today, guys. Just hold on.
Well, we'll talk about the opening to G.I. Joe the movie.
You keep getting your wires crossed.
Get your
I
head in the
know.
game, fuckface.
That's a t-shirt.
Fuck.
let's talk about who was in the movie and then and who made the movie. Whenever we did the Autopod Decepticast, we kind of waited. I think it was maybe about minute 5 or 6, the opening credit sequence. But we'll just get that out of the way here. This movie starred. It had a few names, not as many high quality names as Transformers the movie did. Maybe the budget was not as good. The biggest name, arguably, is Don Johnson as the Lieutenant Falcon, a character introduced for this movie who is the brother of Duke.
Yes, he's his half-brother.
Okay, gotcha.
A lot of stuff on Falcon when we get to that.
Half-brother, huh? Interesting. I want to know about the
drama.
What if we find out that Lieutenant Falcon's mom hooked up with a Cobra agent or something like that?
That would be actually really interesting.
Destro.
I feel like Destro would be totally awesome with the ladies.
I think Destro would try. I think Destro would try to be a. I think Destro would try to be
he would court you civilly.
He would try to
my
be
good lady.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about as a dad. I think Destro would try to be a good dad, but it would just be awkward. Come over to my.
You've had enough screen time. For the day.
Exactly. It would just not work out. Come over to the Scottish castle, and it's just cold. It's just way too formal.
Yeah. So speaking of Don Johnson, as we were moments ago,
yes,
he's particularly special because we talked about the heart of the Ozarks. He's from the Ozarks.
He's from Flat Creek. He was born in Flat Creek, Missouri.
The Flat Creek Township.
That's right.
In Berry County.
I have never heard another town that sounds like such a terrible place to be from.
I know. I don't know.
It's just a horrible name. It sounds like somewhere that just needs to be burned to the ground.
Why? Flat Creek. Wow.
Flat Creek sounds.
You can't burn it. It's water.
It sounds like
it's not Shit Creek.
I bet it is Shit Creek.
Dude, sorry to all our Flat Creek listeners out there. We don't even know where Flat Creek is.
You called Oklahoma like a garbage place of people.
No,
Northeast Oklahoma.
No, I did not call them garbage. I called them illiterate.
Here's the thing. Everyone close your eyes. If I say Flat Creek, you don't just automatically think of a terrible place. You think of a river or a creek, and you're hanging out. You're listening to babble.
Sounds great.
It's beautiful.
Sure, but as a town name, I think of somewhere in the Depression, like the Dust Bowl.
Huh.
Well, let's move on.
I feel like I'm sorry I brought us down this path.
No, it's okay. I don't think he goes back to visit. So.
They have a shrine for him.
However,
that would be amazing.
If they had a Rocky in the town square of Don Johnson.
I will say that I've heard, and it's totally not true because he moved away at a very young age. But I've heard that certain women will claim in that area that they dated him in high school or something.
Sure,
like
why
that.
wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I broke out with his role, Sonny Crockett, in Miami Vice. That lasted from 84 to 89. In 1996, he headed up the police drama Nash Bridges with Cheech Marin. And that's the bulk of his career, really. He did get, as I like to call, Travolted in 2012 with a supporting role of Spencer Big Daddy Bennett in the movie Django Unchained.
I love that role.
I feel like he's kind of back in the cool zeitgeist today, in a way. So that's Don Johnson. A couple of I remember as a kid when at Miami Vice point in time, my great aunt and grandmother not liking him, even though he was from the Ozarks and we were all in the Ozarks, because they said, I'm sure this is just local gossip, that he abandoned his family. His mom was still in, I guess, Flat Creek, and he would never go visit.
Well, what I read on the wiki
sounds
is
like something your grandma, my great aunt would say.
I read on wiki that he moved to Wichita, Kansas when he was 6 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that's what it says.
He abandoned his family.
At 6.
At 6.
Fuck you,
Mom. I've also heard
I'm gonna be a star.
His personal life's been random. He when he moved out to California to do acting, Melanie Griffith was his wife, and she moved in with him when she was 14 or 15.
Oh no!
What?
And then once she turned 18, then they got married.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Oh
But-
God!
At least he didn't forge documents.
But they got divorced.
Robert Kelly.
They got
Listen.
divorced 6 months later. But then she hooked up with him again in the late 80s, and they have a kid together. So.
Are they still together?
I don't
No,
know.
I
But
don't.
he's had 4 wives, and the first 2 wives he had, no one knows who they are publicly. But according,
he was
go to the
shit.
go to the wiki real quick because the way they describe certain things, like his first 2 wives, is kind of bad.
I just typed in Don Johnson wiki, and I thought it would be really funny if, like, maybe he had his own Wikipedia dedicated to him.
So he says, the names of Johnson's first 2 wives have not been made public, though they were said to have been a dancer and a quote unquote rich bimbo.
That's in the.
There's
a footnote to that. Apparently, if you were to look at the archives of Philly.com, you would see where that said that.
So, I was basically looking through his wiki, and, he's had issues with marriages, and I don't know, he had bankruptcy issues, after Miami Vice, and it looks like he's
basically every thing that happens to like the quintessential this is a thing that happened to an actor.
But something that I did find interesting is that it mentions that he really got into offshore powerboat racing in the late 80s.
Oh yeah,
around the same time that he was doing G.I. Joe the movie, and so I went down this. I started looking into his kind of side hobby / career as an offshore powerboat racer, because he was the 1988 World Offshore Champion. And so to tell you what offshore powerboat racing is.
Please.
So while he was on Miami Vice, he got into, driving those large go-fast boats that you see, and he liked it. And
that's what the technical name.
I think they are called go-fast boats.
Oh, wow. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. So...
More intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because I got one of those go slow boats.
Yeah. To China.
Mm-hmm.
No, I laughed at
I gotcha. So, all right. So basically, the kind of powerboat racing. There's all kinds of different classes and different types. What he was involved in was just Class 1 powerboats. These boats are the most visible, and people like to watch these because they're enormous boats.
Mm-hmm.
They usually they can go in excess of 160 miles an hour on the water. They're enormous. They're like 40 and 50 foot long boats. Yeah, there's some pictures.
Are these the kind we see whenever there's videos where they just flip over in the air? Because
no, these are so big that they can, but the ones that you normally see that will flip are smaller.
Okay.
These guys were like in the cabs of these boats. There's a crew of anywhere from 2 to 6 people.
Oh wow!
On there, you got a navigator, you've got additional personnel.
You got a fluffer.
And so in the late
thanks, Aaron.
In the late 80s, that sport got popular again. I don't know exactly why, but it also got
When was it originally popular?
Powerboat racing had been going on since like the 19-teens, and then the big boats I think were popular again like in the 60s and 70s.
Were they using coal in the 19-teens? Just like
steam powered boats.
They, believe it or not, they actually had fuel back then that wasn't coal in the teens, Aaron.
All right.
So they had internal combustion engines, and so but these big boys usually would have twin like V8 or twin V12 engines, and they would. So a typical Class 1 race would go from like 11 to 15 laps, with the race being 55 to 75 nautical miles. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing about Don Johnson did a race once where they raced from New Orleans to over 1,000 miles to St. Louis up the Mississippi River.
Oh, is that true?
It took 2 days. Yeah, they stopped in Memphis for the night, and then they went on to. But it's terribly dangerous to do a race like that on the Mississippi.
Absolutely.
Well, and you're going upstream, right?
They are going upstream. So think about how much faster that would have been like to go downstream.
It would have got 1 day.
Yeah, possibly.
Right.
So anyway, he got into that, and what I found interesting, and we can put some imagery up for it.
Yes.
So this ties in with my interest in Big Trouble in Little China. Don Johnson in 1990's New York Grand Prix race, his co-pilot was none other than Kurt Russell. So
they make sense as a pair that should hang
that
out
is
together.
It was
power mullets.
I just want to say that is a powerful hair couple.
They became very popular. It became popular during that era for like a lot of like movie stars and celebrities to get involved with this kind of racing. For some reason, it just was a trend. And so obviously there had to be some other celebrities step in to compete against Don Johnson and Kurt Russell. And who better would it be than obviously Chuck Norris?
Yeah, some pictures are going up here. Chuck Norris versus Don Johnson.
That's right. So you have the
internet meme Chuck Norris.
You have the 1990 New York Grand Prix where Don Johnson, their team was called like U.S. I don't have my phone on me, but it was called U.S. Find Your Phone. Well, I sent you a text.
It was called U.S. Find Your Phone.
50 Team USA.
That's Team That was Boat 50, part of Team USA. They were just a generic
the team was Team USA.
So they didn't have a direct sponsor. However, Chuck Norris's team was Popeyes / Diet Coke or something like that.
Interesting.
So there
Was it Popeye's chicken or spinach?
Popeyes chicken.
Okay.
It would have been cool, like if he was behind. Oh no, what's gonna happen? It's like but actually, what did happen in the 1990 New York Grand Prix? They were running head to head. Actually, Don Johnson's boat was way ahead of everybody by like 5 minutes,
By an embarrassing amount.
Yeah, and so they were doing really well, him and Kurt Russell. But then, sadly, they blew their transmission. So then Chuck Norris and his team battled it out with some other boats that he won, running out of gas right over the finish line of the race.
This is a movie.
Yeah,
Why hasn't
I know,
this been
right?
made?
They could play themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
They could get all Marvel youngified.
Yeah, they could do that
They could
de-aging
just-
thing.
They could use they did it to Kurt Russell already. They could just
Is
take
it?
that model
And it
just
looked
throw it
good.
in there.
So you can do some Googling and find Chuck Norris powerboat racing, Don Johnson. Apparently Don Johnson, if you go back to the wiki page real quick on Don Johnson powerboat racing, it has a pretty good. In 1986, Johnson scored his first motorsport victory, a 1,100-mile powerboat race, New Orleans to St. Louis up the Mississippi River. Characterized by shipmates as an aggressive, fearless pilot who doesn't make mistakes. 2 years later, he was crowned World Powerboat Champion and became the first and only Hollywood actor to break through to a Tier 1 motorsport championship.
So this was when this movie was being made.
That's right.
He went up the Mississippi.
So I think it's kind of interesting that you have a guy that's portraying kind of a hotshot character in a movie where in real life
Aggressive, fearless.
yeah, whereas in real life he has some of those qualities.
Well, you mentioned this too, Caleb, like why Don Johnson got involved with this project, especially since it's not like Transformers where there was this ensemble cast of famous people. It's basically Don Johnson and Burgess Meredith, and Don Johnson was in peak Miami Vice. Yeah,
I would argue. Would you say he was more famous than Judd Nelson?
Oh yeah,
Because Judd Nelson, I guess
I would say Don Johnson was
Judd Nelson was never really a Tier A kind
no,
of actor.
I would say
Well,
Don Johnson was way more famous than Judd
But
Nelson.
Don Johnson wasn't
Then
a
and
movie
now.
guy, though. He
No.
was where Judd Nelson was. I don't know if that matters in terms of the hierarchy.
I would say Don Johnson was probably more famous with adults, and Judd Nelson was probably more famous with teens.
Possibly.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I'd be curious to know more about how Don Johnson got.
Look for our
into this
next
role.
episode where we do some research on
Try-
that.
I tried, and
Or don't.
I haven't found anything yet.
Or
but
don't.
I would say that the director's commentary might hopefully shed some light on that.
Well, the commentary is just Buzz Dixon, who is the story consultant.
Oh, okay.
So I have one quick other additional piece about Don Johnson. We'll move on. What used to be my favorite Thai restaurant in town, and it was called Thai House, and now it's called something else. But and Thai House is just great. I don't know if it was the first Thai restaurant in Springfield, but at a certain point in time, it was the only. But it's big and ornate as some kind of old restaurants that are particular Eastern restaurants are. You know, it's got statues and masks and pictures of people and, like emperors and empresses and all that. And you go and you sit down at the table. And every table has a glass sort of top that's removable, protecting the wood table underneath it. And slid underneath every single table in the restaurant is a couple of things. There are some Asian coins, some probably Thai, I guess, coins, a U.S. American $2 bill, and a picture of Don Johnson with the owners of the restaurant.
Wow.
The same little, like just like a Polaroid that they somehow got reproduced 40 times.
I didn't know
one
you
for
could
each
do that with
table.
Polaroids.
I don't think it's not a Polaroid. It was like a typical film camera, but it's like it's so old. It was taken pre digital camera era. And
Interesting.
so a photo of them with Don Johnson underneath every table. And that place has since been sold. Another restaurant called Thai Express.
Did they leave
the owner?
Did they leave the photos underneath?
But the photos are still
They're still
underneath
there!
the table.
That's awesome.
At least last time I was there, which and I don't know what the place is called anymore. But
Don
but
Thai.
It's so funny. It's like so okay.
Do they have any Don Johnson themed dishes that you could get?
You would assume, but
dishes? So what would you call it? Like Miami rice?
Yes.
no more jokes needed. That was the one.
Mic drop.
I can't top that.
That was good, Aaron.
93 episodes. You
How
made a
about-
good one.
I was that's the best. I was gonna say,
been
like,
working on it for
I was
90
gonna say like the Don Wonton, but that's
fun too.
yeah. I like Miami Rice.
like it.
I want the Miami Rice, please.
So, excuse me. That brings us to our next celebrity. We have three named actors from the credit sequence, and that's Burgess Meredith as Globulus. That's not very good. You do it better.
I'm
It'll be-
Hey Rock. I'm Globulus.
I'm gonna do it.
Perfect. You want to do one melody?
No, I passed.
Okay.
You leaned in. I thought you were going to do it.
She's just making sure that everyone
pass.
understands that she's not doing it.
So, Burgess Meredith, actor, director, producer, writer, known as one of the most accomplished actors of the century. He is from Cleveland, Ohio. He started life as a journalist. He became a captain in the Air Force. He got into theater, was doing Broadway, New York stuff.
On several amazing Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah, he as far as cinema goes, he got into cinema in 1929. He played George in Of Mice and Men. He, interestingly enough, he was in the movie, I believe, the main character, Ernie Pyle, in a movie called The Story of G.I. Joe in 1945. He was the Penguin on Batman, as Ryan mentioned, Twilight Zone episodes, including the one that is the most iconic to me that I can think of is it's called Time Enough to Last.
Yeah.
Where what is the premise of that one?
Basically, he is like he's a very insular person who just wants to read books. And
He's henpecked by his wife.
And essentially, the crux of the story is that he's down in a safe, like reading his books whenever there's a nuclear war and everybody on Earth gets killed. And he comes out and he finds the library and it has all these books. And he's like, finally, time enough. And then he looks down, his very thick glasses fall off his face and break. And he's like, that's not fair. There was time now. And I'm like, that's really, again, this is a Chris from the Nerdist. I'm blanking on his name.
Hardwick?
Yes, this is his joke, but he's like, Twilight Zone should have just been called Good Luck, Asshole. And it's just one of those endings.
We don't bring up Chris Hardwick on the Autopod Decepticast.
Unless he wants to invite us on his show.
In which case,
Yeah.
I guess he was exonerated. I still feel creepy about it.
What?
I don't know anything about this.
Wait,
Maybe we'll take it off mic.
Wait. We're going to just completely ignore the fact that Don Johnson's a pedophile. We just about Chris Hardwick.
Yo, Joe! I'm going to say that anytime like that.
But let's get uncomfortable about somebody
Yeah.
who was basically
Fucking a
Right.
child?
cleared.
Yeah.
No,
So
I
did
mean,
Elvis.
Chris was
Chris
cleared.
Hardwick.
of
Priscilla
his-
Presley, I believe, was also 14 when she got together with the king.
Well, and the first
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee
if
Lewis.
you were a white person ripping off black music in the 50s, you loved little girls.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't make that a t-shirt.
Fred Willard has a weird story where, Little Richard he had leanings. He had a homosexual leaning.
He's a tent show queen.
Yeah, and so he but he also had like religious convictions. So he had some issues, and it was tough in the 1950s to be black, let alone gay.
Mm-hmm.
Or either way, you shake that, it was tough. So,
Right.
but Fred Willard has a weird story where he was hanging out at a party, and Little Richard showed him a book, and it was just pictures of vaginas.
Like ones that he took?
I don't know. So, but it was like, it's like, anyway, that's a really random story. And anyway, let's go back to what we were talking about.
Well, sorry
I'm
to
uncomfortable
associate
with the route
Direction?
we're taking this.
yeah.
Burgess Meredith, who is also the voice of Puff the Magic Dragon, but we around the Autopod Decepticast know him best as Mickey Goldmill, the trainer, of course, to Rocky Balboa in 1, 2, and 3. I don't have enough to say. That's such an iconic role.
It's great.
And then the other main thing I know him from, he is awesome in Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Grumpy
Oh,
Old
yeah.
Men.
Yeah.
Bacon.
Then I have a whole slab of bacon, and usually I drink my dinner.
Third on the title card in terms of actors that are named in the opening sequence is Sergeant
Slaughter as Sergeant Slaughter.
And his real name, Robert Rudolph Remus.
That's fun.
Unlike Dwayne Johnson. That's just not like Dwayne Johnson. You know how when you're trying to be pretentious and they try and act like he's not The Rock and they're like Dwayne Johnson. And like you can't do that.
Well,
with-
sometimes you get Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
sometimes
they,
you get
They
that.
slowly made that transfer.
But Dwayne Johnson is a cool name on its own. Robert Rudolph Remus.
I submit that's a much cooler name than Dwayne Johnson.
Oh no.
RRR, that alliteration?
Ryan
badass.
Ryan thinks alliteration is.
I love alliteration.
You'll use it anytime you
cool.
can. So cool. He was a wrestler in the 70s for the NWA and the AWA from 72 to 80. He was in the WWF from 80 to 81, then joined the National Wrestling Alliance 81 to 83. He returned to the WWF 83 to 85. Then he went to the American Wrestling Association 85 to 90, returned to the WWF. This is my favorite part of the story. In the 90s as a heel. Do you know about this, Caleb?
No.
You tend to know something
guy.
about
I know
wrestling.
certain things about wrestling. I don't know this.
Good. I am glad that I get to tell this little piece of the story for you. So he worked with Vince McMahon in coming back, and Vince McMahon was like, well, we want you to be a part of the team, but we want you to be a bad guy. They essentially developed a character for him that became anti-American based on the WWE's allowance. I can't remember the name, but like there's a Russian character, and because that character was allowed into the WWF, Sergeant Slaughter's character was like, well, if you're going to let the Russians in, then I'm anti-American now because
That's so weird.
but that character developed and became known basically as Iraqi sympathizer. And so Sergeant Slaughter he became sort of pro-Iraq. There were photoshopped kayfabe pictures that were made for the performances of him like hanging out with Saddam Hussein. He began wearing Arab headdresses, and he adopted the camel clutch as one of his finishing moves.
Instead of the Cobra clutch.
Yeah, exactly. And so while
this.
portraying this, turncoat, he received numerous death threats.
Yeah, I'm sure
he had to
did.
hire security. He had to wear bulletproof jackets all the time. Like he was getting seriously.
I'm surprised that he would go that route because that's dangerous.
Vince McMahon actually asked him to burn the American flag
no.
on stage in the ring, but he refused to do do so, and instead he burned Hulk Hogan's shirt as
I thought you were going to say underpants. I don't know why.
That's dangerous shit.
No kidding.
He as this character, he ultimately defeated the Ultimate Warrior to become the WWF champion, but was immediately challenged by Hulk Hogan, who's pro-America. And later on at WrestleMania 7, they fought each other, and Hulk Hogan won. But
you burned my shirt, brother.
And Hulk Hogan actually did refer to the flag burning in some of that kind of crazy banter, but it allegedly happened off camera. So he's one of the few real humans to be merchandised as a G.I. Joe figure. The others being William Refrigerator Perry, of course.
Yep.
Roddy Piper got a G.I. Joe figure, and this one was weird to me. Buzz Aldrin got a G.I. Joe figure.
I love it.
But
Buzz Aldrin obviously being the one guy that deserves to be
true American hero, Buzz Aldrin.
Yes.
I wish just Don Johnson, the actor, would have gotten a Joe figure.
Yeah. It would be a big boat racing
That's
guy.
right. That would be his vehicle. Those are the three named actors, the marquee actors, if you will. A quick thing about some of the producers. The casting was Reuben Cannon and Associates, Cheryl Miller. So Reuben Cannon is interesting. As a casting director, he or his company covered a lot of shows that I really liked. Roots, Greatest American Hero, Amen, Moonlighting, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The most modern example I could find was The Boondocks. It was hard to find what Cheryl did a lot of television, cartoon, casting, directing. I think G.I. Joe and Transformers were both in her canon. Did you have anything on that?
Oh, I was just going to say Reuben Cannon also did Matlock, A-Team, Color Purple, Greatest American Hero, and Hunter, a Mike Seibert favorite. But also when West and I were watching Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Reuben Cannon was the casting director on that movie.
Darn. Okay. Next up, named on screen, we see Buzz Dixon, who is the story consultant. He seems to be the Flint Dilley of this enterprise and deserves a lot of credit. Buzz was a writer of comics, films, cartoons. He worked on G.I. Joe, Transformers, Jem, Inhumanoids, or as I typoed it, Injumanoids.
What was going on?
I have no clue.
Last night.
Alvin and the Chipmunks, Tiny Toons, Dungeons and Dragons. He was a story consultant on G.I. Joe the movie and My Little Pony the movie. Anything you'd like to say about Buzz Dixon before we move on?
No, I will have a lot to say about him whenever we start the movie proper, because he does do a commentary track on the 2010 DVD or Blu-ray of this movie, which, by the way, cover art, real bad. for
I
that.
think it's the original cover art from the box. Yeah, there's some
it is.
foreshortening issues.
It's also just
I
not
recall.
very good. But yeah, I will cover that a little bit later. Yeah, basically all I wanted to mention, like you said, is that he is the Flint Dille of this, where Ron Friedman, and he does mention this up top, he's very cordial about it, but he's like, Ron Friedman wrote a script, and then we didn't do any of that.
So, and that brings us to Mr. Friedman himself, which by some accounts, I mean, this is another case of him writing an original script. He somehow finagled through having a good agent or something, a sole writer credit, but others reworked the script intently. But Ron Friedman is listed as the writer, which reminds me, Caleb. You've given Ron Friedman money.
I've given Ron Friedman $30.
And in return for that $30, what were you supposed to get?
Well, so hold on. So basically what happened is I heard Ron Friedman interviewed, and he said that if you reach out to him with $30 via PayPal, that he would send you the manuscript of his book that he's been trying to.
I Killed Optimus Prime.
I Killed Optimus Prime.
Yeah, forever, yeah.
And so I sent an email via the APOD email and said, "Hey, I'd be interested in this." Blah blah blah. Talked about our podcast.
He replied.
He replied and said, "Sure, just send it."
Just give me that $30.
Yeah. So I sent it, and I have not heard back since.
When did you sent? So we are recording on January 20th. When did you send him money? Probably November, December.
November-ish. Yeah.
Although
But
you
I
did
will
say it's
this.
not clear.
I need to re-listen to it. It's the Gilbert Godfrey interview. I need to listen. I need to listen to it again. I'm wondering if it's money that basically I'm contributing towards.
That doesn't
GoFundMe.
seem. That doesn't seem legit. Like
But-
he would do. Yeah. Like,
I mean,
just
he's basically sending
someone
you
money.
a stack of paper.
I've sent a follow-up, and I got no reply. So I'm wondering if Ron Friedman.
I know.
I
He
know.
Nigerian Prince your ass.
It's definitely Ron Friedman. It wasn't a Nigerian Prince kind of deal, except unless you consider
Well,
Ron
a
Friedman.
scam.
I think Ron Friedman is the Nigerian Prince in this situation. Yeah, so Ron Friedman has 30 of my dollars. I'm hoping that when you, Aaron, run into him at the TFCon in LA,
You want me to shake him down on your behalf?
I'd really appreciate it.
Just grab him and rough him up.
He is, for what it's worth, he is a great storyteller. He seems like an amiable guy.
Well,
They
and that's
are,
what
but his stories, I will say on the Gilbert Godfrey, his stories I would call
old school Hollywood.
school.
Sort
Oh,
of
no.
stuff.
and therefore.
Have you not listened to the interview?
No.
And when Aaron says old school Hollywood, that translates to
rapey.
racist and sexist.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
When you say old school, yeah.
That's what that means.
It's like
I don't
calling-
remember him being overtly sexist, but I mean, it
It's
was
like
like
calling-
kind of like boys clubbish sort
Right.
of humor.
So, like,
So sexist.
yeah.
Okay, maybe he was this thing. Maybe I
Aaron
just need
loves
to walk it all back.
downplay all of that.
It'd be like
in
trying to make
general.
excuses for the Rat Pack or something like
Yeah.
that.
So that moves us on to executive producers. Margaret Lesh, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and Lee Gunther. They share a lot of credits together. Transformers the movie, Muppet Babies, Jem, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony. Then we get on to supervising producer Jay Bacall, and then also producer Joe Bacall and Tom Griffith. Joe, also known as Jules Bacall. They served as writers, directors, and producers in lots of the same series. You hear those names come up when you're talking about Transformers a lot, G.I. Joe, Robotics, Inhumanoids. Whenever we hear Flint Dille speak, I feel like he's always name dropping the Bacall brothers to one degree or another. If you have anything about any of these
I don't.
people,
The only thing I have is
pipe in.
co-produced, directed by Don Jurwich.
That's correct. Moving on to co-producer director Don Jurwich. As a director, there's not much out there for him. Most of his direction experience was in 24 episodes of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, but he has lots of work as a producer, lots of Hanna-Barbera stuff, Super Friends, Scooby-Doo, Captain Caveman,
And
Richie
the Teen
Rich.
Angels.
Oh, I didn't even.
That's the full
don't
title.
leave them out. Don't leave them out of the discussion. Smurfs, Tom and Jerry, Yogi Bear, lots of episodes of G.I. Joe. He also worked in he seems very multifaceted. He was a producer on those shows, but he also worked in the animation, sound, and art departments. He has lots of writing credits on these shows.
Yep. Also did Richie Rich, who was one of my favorite cartoons, and I am told But what?
That just is a random one to be your favorite.
I really liked it as a kid, and I'm told by my parents I had an imaginary friend that I called Richie, which must be Richie Rich.
And you don't remember?
I have no memory of this, but again, I wasn't 10, so.
Now that Macaulay Culkin's back in the popular zeitgeist, he played Richie Rich.
That's a
Oh
great
my
movie.
God.
And I had
Just
an
remember that
imaginary
movie?
friend named
I don't think I ever
Macaulay.
saw it.
Worth watching.
Really?
Stream it. It's good.
Really?
It's good.
I can't imagine.
It's
good.
cute. It's cute.
All right.
Let me just check the Rotten Tomatoes on Richie Rich.
Aaron doesn't watch anything that is below like a 72%.
Well, it's got it. Surely it's
Let's
And I got a fight to go.
Hold on. Before you click on it,
I'm
what do
gonna
you think?
guess
What do you think it is?
81.
I bet it's in the 70s.
You think it's in the 70s?
68.
I'm gonna guess. Hold on.
We are talking about the critics' consensus, not the audience consensus, right?
So
Okay.
It's also always
I'm
dodgy
sure
on
it's
old
good,
movies.
but since you guys are kind of up there, I'm gonna go. I'm trying to decide if I want to go high or low.
You're gonna go low, probably a bit.
You know what? I'm gonna go high. You said what?
100%.
81.
You said what?
81.
I'm gonna go 87.
80, 81, 87,
68.
68. I'm just going to say in the 70s.
Good, yeah.
24! Oh my gosh! If this were the Price is Right, we all went over. Even the audience score is pathetic at 31%. It had so Richie
It's
Rich.
got John Larroquette.
Yeah, it's John
I would
Larroquette
watch
is
it.
in
I
it.
will watch it
Look
because
at
John
him.
Larroquette.
He's like a bumbling Daddy Warbucks
I will-
type character.
This is our next project.
I will watch this movie because John Larroquette's in it. I don't care how bad it is.
To be fair, it's always skewed on older movies, and there's only 21
down
reviews.
or skewed up?
It's just skewed because, like, how are you? Like, you're not reviewing a new movie that's just come out. You're reviewing it through the lens of like, this is a movie you've probably seen.
Joe Leydon of Variety said it's decently crafted but oddly charmless.
Okay,
I like
summation.
I like Jeff Andrews.
Unendurable. So that covers the actors, that covers the producers. I think what we'd like to get into now.
That's what's important.
Yeah, sorry, I will never watch it.
I don't need you to watch it. The
I'm
thing
definitely
is,
gonna watch it.
I've watched it a couple times.
I'm going to watch it with Ryan.
Watch it with your children. Your kids would like it.
Are they going to learn lessons?
Sure, yeah.
Here's what you guys need to watch. Melody and I watched this the other day. Roma on.
I've heard it's good.
on
Surely.
Netflix. It was
You guys haven't
amazing.
seen Roma yet?
I remember Melody telling me about that this morning.
Oh, I'm glad you remember it from this morning.
I remember something that happened a few hours ago.
You guys need to watch Roma.
It was really good, and of course, Ryan will roll his eyes. It's directed by and written and directed by the Alfonso Cuarón, if that's
Why
how you
would you roll your eyes
pronounce his
at
Don't
name.
even know who that is.
He did Gravity, won Academy Award for Gravity, but of course
Yep,
also
the eyes rolled.
Children
I
of
just saw it
Men.
happen. I watched it.
My favorite movie, Children of Men.
I like both of those movies. It's
just that I bring them up all the time.
It's true.
Yeah,
I was wondering to see if it was actually rolling.
And they did.
They
Yeah.
did.
I'm a
They
terrible
fluttered.
person.
He couldn't
They
even
fluttered.
hold
I
his
wouldn't
letter.
call them a roll. They fluttered. Definitely watch it.
Okay.
And listeners, watch Roma
You're-
if you like art.
You need to expect subtitles,
Yeah,
but
I actually prefer subtitles.
To what?
and I thought I was a snob.
to
Jeez.
non-subtitles.
To English movies?
You prefer subtitles just to a movie in Spanish?
I do. I have taken to
understand.
watching movies with subtitles on because, like, I'm like, I just find that sometimes I miss stuff.
Yeah,
I've got so
hear
much
ya.
goddamn noise in my house from my kids that I have the subtitles on just so I know what's being said. Yeah.
Are you guys getting fitted for hearing aids anytime soon?
Aaron will be.
My hearing is
in the
actually
next 20 years.
my hearing is actually really good, but
Surprisingly, mine's okay considering that I
You're a
play music
musician.
and I blast music into my ears.
Do you wear ear?
I need to start wearing earplugs.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Get these. We bought them off Shark Tank. Vibes. Supposedly they're the best earplugs for
Honest to
not
God.
hurting the
sound.
quality of the music. They
Honest,
do muffle.
honest to
things.
God, I need to wear ear protection when I play.
I do have tinnitus.
How?
I've had it as long as I can remember.
What is tinnitus?
It's ringing in the ears.
That's what I'm worried about getting.
It doesn't affect my hearing, and I don't notice it unless I really think about it. And also, I have a really weird version of it that very few people have, where it's like, if it's quiet enough, I will start to hear music. that is like, it sounds like music that's being played like 3 rooms away through a really bad speaker.
Does that make you a subconscious composer?
No, because it's always music I know.
Oh,
It's like Miami Vice, or no, Magnum PI. The Magnum PI theme is in heavy rotation.
Okay.
Weird.
It's very weird.
You're a strange man.
Yeah.
Always have been.
Always will be.
Let's
Where are we?
So next we're going to get into, and I've got this pulled up here. We're going to get into the
G.I. Joe.
the intro
Yo,
sequence.
Joe.
An hour in, we can talk about the movie.
the intro sequence to G.I. Joe the movie. Now, for those who listen to the Autopod Decepticast, this is going to be kind of slightly similar format, but at a much higher pace, I guess, because we're
not doing minute by minute.
we're
Right.
not doing minute by minute, but we're gonna give a shot, and maybe this will evolve at kind of the same process of sort of going through what we see on screen and commenting on it. So we are at the 0-minute mark, and the very first thing that we see is, of course, the Sunbow Marvel logos, and then, I mean, we get right into the action.
It's like balls out.
Yeah, so go
I'm
ahead.
putting all my headphones on.
I was just going to say up top, but Dixon has talks about this, where this scene is tacked on. Like, he didn't write this. It wasn't in the script. They did this after the movie, basically.
It's like a producer's decision.
Yeah, I mean, essentially. And
You can tell there's
Did somebody who got the credit on making it?
I don't think anybody gets the credit for it. I'm not sure if anybody
Work went into it.
Absolutely, but
Don't you ever do some shit at your work? You don't get any credit for it. Somebody else does.
I take credit for other people.
I mean, I won't say the movie would have
just-
sucked without this, but it definitely would have been poorer.
I just made an entire PowerPoint presentation for the president of my company. I'm not getting shit for that.
I want to shout out to Caleb, who made this thing that's on the screen behind me.
I hope my president's listening to this somehow. Though.
I do feel like
Yo,
this.
Joe.
I do feel like this intro really kind of is the tide that lifts all boats. Where like it's so good that once you start the movie, you're like forgiving a bunch.
Yeah. We're not far. I've only watched the first 30 minutes of the movie, and it's been years since I've actually watched the movie. So I don't know that the movie's bad yet, but
It's not bad. It's just extremely nonsensical.
Gotcha. So what we see right off the bat, and this is going to be kind of tough because...
So, Melody, we
Let me see if I
consider
can
some
figure
things
out.
nonsensical as being not bad.
Okay.
All right.
There are plenty. Well, whatever. We don't have to litigate this right now.
Yo, Joe!
So the intro sequence kicks off. It's the shadow from the shadows of night emerges a dusty kind of G.I. Joe logo, and from behind that logo, there's this bright, sparkling light that kind of twists and turns towards the viewer and reveals itself to be the red, white, and blue.
That's right, baby.
America.
And it basically flies around and just slams into the side of the logo and explodes into this sparkly
Into glittery
display.
spark.
We see it is the G.I. Joe logo, but it's more magnificent than we've ever.
Yeah.
Did you
Ever
notice
seen
that
it.
part?
A real American hero.
And it says a real American hero in a nice serifed font for you graphic design dorks out there. The sparks fall towards the ground, they dissipate and reveal this traditional kind of New York skyline, focusing in on the Statue of Liberty. I assume it's the 4th of July,
Yeah.
right?
Honestly, I think it's meant to be the rededication ceremony.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for our younger listeners, the Statue of Liberty went under a renovation from 1984 to 1986. So I think this is meant to be when it's first
Yeah,
reopened,
right.
because there are TV cameras here.
It got
There's
a
a big
lot
crowd.
of press. The Statue of Liberty got a lot of press at that time because it was getting renovated.
So that's it. There
There was
was
actually
we
a-
can point to a day.
there
What
was
day is that? What day has this happened?
Forgust.
Okay, we didn't
29th.
do that research.
There was a made-for-TV movie I remember watching, and LeVar Burton was one of the characters in it. It's about but it was all about when the Statue of Liberty was built. It's a
Okay.
movie so yeah. Anyway, that makes total sense.
We'll go into.
Good job, Ryan.
I'll support it. I like.
I
it.
did some reading.
So this is the title music is playing at this point, and the music is amazing.
Oh, it's so
And-
good.
And unlike Transformers, the movie, there aren't really any kind of just licensed songs or songs made by, rock bands that put into the movie. This is the only music credit, actually, song credit at the end of the movie. And the song is just called Title Song.
Oh!
And give it a kick-ass name?
It is a bombastic display
It's
of
the best.
synthesized drums and horns and scary lyrics. But the music, just to get this out of the way, is by Ford Kinder and Spencer Michelin. They were music department guys. They did composing for G.I. Joe, My Little Pony, Visionary, Transformers. So they were just the go-to dudes. But the lyricist is a guy named Barry Harmon. He's credited as the lyricist, but he was kind of a jack of all trades guy. He is a TV writer on shows dating back to Carol Burnett, The Jeffersons, All in the Family. He also served in several music departments as a composer and lyricist.
Oh, so as opposed, this is again another transition away from in Transformers the movie they had all these major stars doing voices, and they had basically, and it's been said that Transformers the movie is just scenes in between music videos. Mm-hmm. This is just music from the show.
It is true.
Aside from this opening sequence,
most of the music from the show I recognize from Transformers.
Yes, I have those notes too.
It's recycled, but so my guess is, going back to our earlier conversation about if this would have made it to the theaters, would Transformers have ever made it? I feel like they were putting their money into Transformers.
I feel like it seems that way.
I don't know what the more popular franchise was.
That's a good question.
But
I don't know. What was more popular at the time, G.I. Joe or Transformers?
Yeah, we'd have to do, I guess, some research into sales figures.
You'd have to be careful about how you weigh that versus toy sales versus the television, the ratings.
Sure, yeah, you got I would assume they would be reflective of each other.
Maybe, I don't know.
But I didn't collect a lot of G.I. Joes, but I watched the show. Also, G.I. Joes were a much cheaper thing to get into.
Be careful what you say.
Poor kids could get into G.I. Joe.
Oh, no, but you should have been swimming in G.I. Joe.
Ooh, sick burn.
But to be fair, there were.
Meanwhile, Ryan's laying G.I. Joes on top of Barbie dolls. I don't even know what kind of class he was in.
Dirtbag.
Yeah.
But you could get any figure for probably less than whatever the equivalent of $5 at the time. There were value. Obviously there are value Transformers figures, but there's a lot of
just a quick reference to that. The GI Joes were originally really tall figures back in the '60s and early '70s, and then discontinued
12 inches.
Yes, and then they made them smaller. For one reason, because they were kind of matching them off of the
Star Wars
Kenner, but also the reason the other reason is they were making them smaller is because the price of petroleum went way up, and so it was more expensive to make large toys. Gotcha. So I think Kenner probably also consciously made smaller action figure toys because it was cheaper.
Yeah, their bigger ticket items were the vehicles.
Right.
So
so it's a profit deal.
It's a profit deal.
I love that movie. Let's do a minute by minute The Jerk.
How many have we committed to so far?
A lot.
Quite a bit.
Okay, so
I'm never gonna get out of doing this.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, by the way.
It's The Jerk.
The Jerk. Oh God,
there's another one out of
I'll do that. I love that movie. That movie is a remake, I found out, of a French film, I believe. The camera pans up. We're at this ceremony. We've determined the rededication ceremony of the Statue of Liberty. The camera pans up to the sky, and we see emerging, coming towards us, a giant ship of some sort. It's like a flying aircraft carrier.
Is it Nick Fury's? Is it the?
It kind of looks like that. What is that called?
Yeah, the helicarrier.
Thank you.
It's
Robert.
like that. But no, I looked this up trying to find a name for this. This is not a vehicle that was ever produced. No. It's just for this sequence in the movie.
Okay, gotcha. I don't recall seeing it on the show. But so, and out of this giant carrier, I want to say thousands.
Oh, it's
of
mini
troops just
people.
Just fly out. We get a giant. Right, we all get teabagged as the viewer by one paratrooper whose legs are spread so. And I'm sure that's proper technique, but it is very humorous to watch it pause on.
Ryan, did you look into
No, but I've parachuted. Like when you open the canopy, your legs fly up.
I forget you've actually.
I've jumped out of a perfectly good airplane.
That's the most adventurous thing you've probably ever done.
It was great.
I think it would be cool if we all I'd love to skydive. We should do it though in full like blue
Cobra trooper gear.
Yeah.
We could all.
I'll do it if that's how
We could jump out and hold up like a banner, Autopod Decepticast.
Yeah, to all the people that are looking at us doing that.
Yeah, the 3 people that are also waiting for the plane so they can go up.
We just need to put an Autopod Decepticast logo on our taints so that when our legs fly up, the logo's exposed to whoever's beneath us.
By the way, when you jump the first time, basically you're tied to the instructor. So it's
2
a
taints
10.
for 1.
It's a 10. Well
That's
done.
why you're here, baby. So yeah, just so many paratroopers. It's uncountable, but they just keep coming. And then also behind the paratroopers, we've got these. I looked it up. Where is it?
They didn't have
claws, the covert light aerial weapons. Those are what those kind of glider sort of
I thought Cobra
machines are called.
Cobra always had the most.
Sorry, we just got teabagged.
We got another bite at the apple.
I always found it interesting that like G.I. Joe, at least early on, had standard military equipment: a tank, a dune buggy, a jet.
Cobra they're innovators.
Cobra's technology was bananas.
Well,
Who's investing in Cobra? Where's the money coming
it's
from?
everything on I think everything about Cobra was different.
Sort of like in Star Trek, where the Federation has the lamest ships and everybody else has really awesome ships.
That's a good point. Why is that?
I mean, the Joe equipment became much different. Buzz Dixon, again, the story consultant who has a commentary track on this, he did do 5 years in an army, and that is one of the reasons he says that why he did the rewrite of the script, because he says Ron Friedman's a good writer, but he not necessarily a military guy, doesn't really understand how things work. And he does mention that most of the vehicles, both Joe and Cobra, would be completely useless in actual military conflict.
Yeah, they don't make sense.
No, they just look cool.
I mean, you've got those pods, and there's no clear idea how those even work.
It's always interesting, though, that why. I guess it makes sense that the Cobra stuff is exotic.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Sure.
And if you think about it, most of I guess G.I. Joe does have, everybody's American, but it reflects kind of the ethnic and cultural diversity of America. But everybody from the G.I. Joe is kind of international. Like they all kind of represent different mysterious international elements.
They all have individuality.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cobra is really good at branding. I mean, look, they got the logo on the parachute and everything.
You know it's Cobra when they're
That's
attacking.
right.
And what's interesting is they have to be outsourcing that. They're not.
That means in addition to all these fighters, they've got a team of graphic designers and marketing people.
Yeah.
It's a business enterprise.
Cobra's got a fucking hell of a street team.
That's right. Just handing out flyers, recruiting.
No, I will say that there's a whole. You're right. There's a whole. Cobra's got a whole marketing department that's probably all the time being like, we gotta print this.
But they must not be very good because they're still having to use terror as a method as opposed to just television. What if they just, instead of attacking the Statue of Liberty, did a hot Super Bowl ad campaign?
Cobra does. I mean, Cobra does have a legit. They have remember the twins. Mm-hmm. They have a corporate front. Do you remember that?
Oh, is that right? So that's what the twins' job is. They are the
Cobra has
business people.
Cobra has a legitimate business front.
That's right. I forgot about that. It's been so long since I've watched G.I. Joe, I don't even really know what's going on.
If you look at it in the view of today's global terrorism, they're just like Osama bin Laden.
Well, it's true. Well, you've got certain billionaires who will fund it, and even I guess ISIS. That money is coming from business enterprises.
There's more. I have more on that with some of Buzz Dixon, what he said it was going to be, but that's in the movie proper. So
okay, we'll wait on it. So really great animation, lots of stuff going on here with the balloons and the fireworks. So paratroopers are descending on the statue. Tourists are running, screaming.
There's so much going on in that image.
You might say there's nowhere to hide, and a lot of work went into this.
Wow.
This sequence is maybe better than any animated sequence in Transformers the movie. I think there's
probably.
A lot of there's just a lot of stuff going on.
The lighting is also, especially on the Statue of Liberty, is really good.
It's kind of beautiful, actually.
I don't know why that felt so tender,
man.
So everything's descending. You basically have hang gliders. You've got these tiny red planes. You've got paratroopers. everything's descending. It's madness. It's chaos. People are freaking out. I don't know what the objective is. A Crimson Guard. I had
Punches
to look up
the camera.
I had to look up
He
a lot of
breaks
names.
the fourth wall.
That's true. A Crimson Guard punches us in the face, but it really is the camera of a news crew that is filming the event.
Danger.
We then see
Don J.
Oh shit!
I wonder if that was intentional.
I'm backing this up.
Sorry,
WOONJ.
I think it was WDONJ.
Don J.
You got if that's
W. Don J.
That has to be on
is
That's-
the
Wow.
news station
That's amazing.
that is filming that gets punched in the camera
W.
lens.
Don J.
They paid a lot of money for Don Johnson.
So
He's like, I'm gonna have
God damn
Listen,
it.
I'm only going to do this feature if
That's-
they sneak my name in
that's-
every possible opportunity.
you watch. It's gonna be etched in like the sides of mountains. We're gonna find his name everywhere.
I hope so.
Oh.
I really do.
We're going to keep a lookout for Don Johnson
That's
references
amazing.
tucked into every nook and cranny of this movie. So after the camera gets punched out, we go to the sky and we see, again, I had to look up all the names of these characters because other than like the main
G.I.
ones, I
Joe
can
has a
tell
huge
you.
cast.
It's a big roster, and also I just wasn't a huge G.I. Joe person. But this is Major Blood, who was another mail-in character that you had to get.
He
at
was
one
like
point.
he looks like a guy that was in Black Sabbath.
He does.
He has an
The eye
English
patch.
accent. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to do it right now.
Wait for it, listeners.
So he's swerving around on a hang glider, and he takes a laser to the back, which explodes. And I presume he just falls hundreds. We never hear from him again. He falls hundreds of feet to the ground.
Major
I guess
Blood
he
was
dies.
a prominent character.
He just
Oh, but
splats.
yeah, he was like you probably find it later, but he kind of talked like there was a lot of
Was
British.
he Cockney?
There's a lot of like
There are, yeah.
working class British that seem to have joined up on Cobra. And I guess
Well, it was
Their
it
government
was-
was ignoring
It was
him.
Margaret
I guess so,
Thatcher's 1980s
yeah, so
in
they were
Britain.
looking for every opportunity they could, but there was a striking amount of working class British that were joining Cobra at the time.
So at this point on screen, this is where G.I. Joe comes into the picture, and the G.I. Joe
We
theme,
are 1 minute 7 seconds in.
we kind of reprise the G.I.
Yes.
Joe theme music at this point, and we see that the shot was fired by none other than Duke from the balcony of the torch of the Statue of Liberty.
fucking
The
bazooka.
smoke clears up. We get a
Absolument.
zoom straight into his strong cheekbones and jaw,
That jaw
and
looks amazing.
and he screams, of course, the
Yo-Joe.
perennial cry of Yo Joe,
Yeah.
and then he just takes off in a jetpack, and we see that there's some half a dozen
Now-
or 2 dozen perhaps
From a
Joes on there.
From a logistic, yeah. From a
Is the
logistical-
question you're going to ask where the hell did they come from?
No, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a fantasy opening sequence, but yeah, why? were
I
they-
don't know if it is because part of me, I was going to get to this at the end,
Oh,
but part of me wonders: are we to believe that this happened right before the thing in the movie? So when the movie opens up and everybody's sick of Cobra Commander and throwing him under the bus, is it like due to this mission failing?
That was my understanding.
that works story wise. It's almost certainly not planned that way because this was not in the script, but that works. I mean,
We'll just go with it.
yeah.
Well, we can talk about the merits of this mission
Well,
at the end of the sequence.
sure.
But,
All right.
but did you have more to say?
No,
on
I'll save it.
that? So yeah, my thought was, where the hell did these guys come from? But the gang is all here. They're all. They got Flint coming right at
Where
us.
the hell did any of these people come
That's true.
from?
Well, Cobra came from this giant ship in the
Well,
sky.
yeah.
From wherever their secret
Wait,
headquarters is.
good job, NORAD.
We're paused at
totally.
1 minute and 16 minutes in. We're right at the front of the Statue of Liberty's face, and we can see that immediately Joe is effective. They're blowing up some Cobra shit. Cobra guys are flying all over the place. We see this is called a
BAT.
A BAT, thank you. Battle Android Trooper. Is that what that stands for?
G.I. Joe loves acronyms. And this is, I thought of this, they're basically an android. And this is like the Ninja Turtles thing where we get to
the
kill
Foot
things
Clan.
without killing things.
Once they introduced these androids, then it was like they could just
Shoot them all the fuck up.
They were destroying hundreds of these.
There's
per
literally
episode.
a scene in the opening sequence where I think it's Scarlet who like goes in a circle and destroys a bunch, like all of them.
They created a bad guy that it was okay to kill because they weren't human, and they would kill hundreds of these things.
Yes.
You got to. That's their reason for
I had this guy.
existing is to die.
Either I had or my brother had this guy.
So we can see that this android trooper is firing from must be like the top of the Statue of Liberty's head, because we see some Joes coming in from each like I guess window, for lack of a better phrase, crown. In the crown, and he gets just blown the fuck up immediately. We see some Joes are flying around. There's lots of laser fire, more explosions of some of the flying apparatus. We see, I don't know what this vehicle is called, this G.I. Joe sort of hella hover vehicle, but they're taking off. From around the corner, we see lots of a shitload of Joes.
Gung-ho.
You know their names. I was going to say that you got the flamethrower one, you got the Australian stereotype, you got the Native American stereotype.
Is that Michael Jackson?
and Michael Jackson.
Why couldn't Michael Jackson ever be?
He should have been.
He should have been. He really should have been.
It doesn't make sense that he wasn't.
Oh, I see him now. Sorry.
So these guys are coming at us, and they are firing right at our faces.
A lot of in-your-face stuff.
It's a dramatic visual.
We also get his crotch coming right at us. Some camel toe there on.
There's a lot of crotches coming at you at this opening sequence.
So, listeners, I apologize. I'm going to try to learn the names, but we have to do extra research to learn the names of all this shit.
Yeah.
So if I just blow it off every now and again and say the Asian one, forgive me.
Is this
the stereotypical?
It'll only be the non-whites I do this for.
No, I don't know the white people's names either. Like I said, the Australian stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the
and
auto?
Look how deep his V is.
Yes.
Hey, is this the Auto Decepticast Joe? No. I'm just saying. This is the Autopod Decepticast.
Hang on.
It's pretty good, actually.
Joe.
The Auto Joe.
Would it be called
But
it would be called the GI Pod Cobra-cast.
I like to
follow the same pattern.
I like the GI Pod Decepticast Joe.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so we go back to the sky. We see lots of serious fighting going on by this sky carrier thing. And shall we go inside?
I think we shall.
Let's do. And what we see is a scene that actually perplexes me in a lot of ways.
Madness.
But we see Destro. He's giving Cobra Commander a bomb. It's set for 5 minutes. And with him, we see the Baroness. We see Zaymot and Tomax. Mm-hmm. They're the twins, baby. You have something in common
with
these
the corporate
two
heads.
guys.
They're the
I'm
corporate
evil
heads.
too.
You and Jennifer finish each other's sandwiches.
So Destro hands Cobra Commander this bomb, and Cobra Commander has a giant jetpack of his own on his back, and he takes the bomb and he takes off, and here we go. So obviously we probably all have problems with this, Ryan.
Well, I don't have problems with it. It's awesome. Like, until I started, again, same way with Transformers the movie, until I started watching this with a critical eye, never questioned it. But I'm like, why the leader of Cobra is the one to deliver a bomb? And Buzz Dixon says this in his commentary too, like, why not just shoot a rocket at the Statue of Liberty?
It's not as dramatic.
Right.
Exactly. And I think Cobra is all about, like, doing the most.
Yeah.
Well, and certainly, even if you weren't just going to shoot a rocket at the Statue of Liberty, any of the 1,000 troopers that are of a lower level on the hierarchy than Cobra Commander could place that bomb. Or better yet, even to Destro or the twins. I say let the twins do it. If one of them fucks up and dies, you've got the other one.
Mm-hmm. Or one of the Dreadnoks.
Who's to say that's even really Cobra Commander?
Why aren't we using the androids to do this?
Exactly.
Excellent point.
I will argue that that's not even really Cobra Commander. You don't know who it is. It could be a double. Who's behind? There's a mask.
Wow, they got some conspiracy shit here.
Who's to say that Cobra Commander's even at this battle?
You're right. I mean, perhaps
all right.
He's directing. And at this point, so is Serpentor the leader of the Decepticons, or is he sort of a weird figurehead like the royal family?
He's the leader, but he's just an idiot. I hate Serpentor so much.
He's basically
this I command.
Basically, he's the emperor, and like Cobra Commander is like the military CEO. Commander,
which is dumb because an emperor would insinuate that you like have territory, like you you have an empire. Mm-hmm. This guy doesn't have an empire.
Serpentor is the United States president. He's Trump.
Let's not go there.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, Cobra Commander, you could argue. I mean, they both have egos. I mean, whatever. We'll move on from that.
Sorry.
No,
Wrong
it's fine.
podcast.
No.
Move on.
No, it's fine. So, Cobra Commander, he flies the bomb by the time it's in like the
3-minute range.
by the time he gets over to the Statue of Liberty, and we're right at the 3-minute mark. As he places it, I assume this is the base of the Statue of Liberty, and then he just breaks the fuck out. All these lasers firing at him as he departs, which makes me think like that's careless on the Joe's part. I would assume any one of those would just set off the bomb.
Everybody has poor aim in this movie.
That's true.
And actually, in G.I. Joe, in
G.I.
general,
Joe is
poor aim.
I was always a Transformers guy, and I like G.I. Joe fine, but I got defensive when people would say G.I. Joe as a child. When people say, not today, but as a child, when people would say G.I. Joe, was a better show or whatever, I'd be like, but you can't even see what's going on. All the lasers shooting.
Yeah,
Which there are a lot of lasers, though.
But listen, they were smart enough that Cobra made sure that their lasers were one color, and
That's
Joe
true.
made sure that theirs were another.
I mean,
so you knew who was shooting at who.
But and this opening sequence in particular dials all that up to 11. I mean, this is the most crazy version of that stereotype about G.I. Joe to begin with. I mean, it's just nuts. So action continues. We see Gung Ho blast some kind of one of these pod flying apparatuses, and he flies through the explosion. So that's pretty cool. We literally see Joe's fighting on the plaque of the Statue of Liberty. We got Cobras fighting from the shoulder of the statue. We've got explosions everywhere. I mean, there's no way this statue makes it to this event, no matter what, whether that bomb goes off or
It's
not.
only
That thing's gonna be
copper.
pockmarked.
That's why she looks so worried.
So in a very cool sequence here, we see Snake Eyes fly on to one of these flight pods. He somehow flips it 360 degrees vertically, and that dumps the guy out, and then he gets in it and flies off. That is just
It was
awesome.
pretty sweet.
Snake Eyes is a badass.
and if you blink, you miss it.
And again, that's another one of the toys that made us bit on G.I. Joe is like they just made this character painted in black and like shipped him out there. Most popular character in the line.
So then I had to look up this guy's name. We see, and this is probably the coolest sequence of the entire opening sequence. This guy's name is Alpine. He swings in on a rope. No doubt, I'm guessing that rope is hanging from the torch. He kicks a couple troopers off an armpit here, and then fires his grappling hook.
And has his arms ripped out of the socket
Yeah,
as he is attached
kidding.
to a rocket-powered vehicle.
And that, by the way, that vehicle is called a fire bat. I did ultimately do the research on that, it appears.
Nailed it.
So he grabs onto that, and then he sucks himself up towards the wing. He climbs onto the wing, climbs onto the cockpit. Then we see, like, kind of from right behind the pilot's view, him kind of crawling on the cockpit. He punches through the fucking
Yeah,
cockpit.
he does.
And then, so as he does that, Snake Eyes makes an appearance and gives him the okay sign. But so he gets into this captured vehicle, or actually, what happens is, I'm sorry, he doesn't get into it. He fires his grappling hook over at Snake Eyes, and then just lets the fire bat fly down towards the water, and it hits one of these Cobra ships.
Great explosion.
And takes it out, and that Cobra ship, I believe, is a Moray, is what that is called. So
That's a moray.
ooh, good job.
Thank you for no one
Another Rat Pack reference. We go back up to the top of the Statue of Liberty at this point, and just in time to see Duke punch Cobra Commander in the face, very fitting, and he knocks him off the statue, and as he falls, we see the light of 1,000,000 lasers just reflecting off of the face mask. He lands on one of these pods that is piloted by I believe that trooper is called a Viper, and then we flash to the I don't know his name, the Cobra flamethrower guy is what I'm going to call him for now, and then the Native American stereotype Spirit shows up. Hang on, I'm backed up.
That's Chuck Norris.
Yeah, he looks like Chuck Norris.
The bad guy does look like Chuck Norris. No, I'm sorry, it's Scarlet that appears here at this point. Who does that bird belong to? He gets attacked by a bird.
Spirit.
Is that Spirit's bird?
Probably.
Okay, I don't know.
Supposition.
Scarlet flies in on a jetpack, punches him out. Good job. Gets him out of the game. This is kind of a goofy sequence. So now here's where the spirit, and then we have, when Melody and I were watching this, she was like, is that Bruce Lee? But his
flawless impression, by the way.
He might as well be.
His name is Quick Kick.
Yeah.
And so they're punching out some bad guys. And then as Bazooka, a character called Bazooka, and he's called Bazooka because he carries
a bazooka. He was a fun character because he was usually portrayed as kind of dumb.
Oh, is that right?
He just always had his uniform is just a helmet with a football jersey.
But they let him have the most destructive individual.
I do like
possible.
how G.I. Joe in Special Forces, you get to be your thing. Like, you get to let your freak flag fly.
And boy howdy, yeah.
So he trips because a laser goes right by his foot.
Oh, I love this part.
And when you watch it in slow-mo, the cartoonishness of his face bonking up.
This is almost like Sludge with the eyeballs
really
popping out.
highlighted.
We're at 2 minutes, 20 seconds in.
So that causes him to pull the trigger on his bazooka, which flies right by. Fan favorite character, I'm sure, Shipwreck.
I love Shipwreck so much.
He makes a very scared face, as he should, because that rocket flies right by his head. He ducks just in time for the rocket to knock the hat off of his head. And
there's a lot of happenstance of destroying the Cobra vehicles here. Also, if your favorite character isn't Shipwreck, like, what are you even? Why do you even exist?
I know
He's the best.
He
He doesn't get enough representation in this movie.
Does he get any other than this opening
There's
sequence?
a little bit.
One more,
Okay.
It's very.
I haven't
very
watched
little.
it all yet. So that bazooka, that's a close call. I assume is that bazooka shot hit that ship? Is that what we're led to believe
that's the
here?
implication.
Then you've got a fleet of ships that are going to get blown up by a sortie of G.I. Joe airliners called Conquest X-30s.
So forward swept wing.
They fire a bunch of rockets and they blow up a bunch of ships. And then we that's what happens.
And
then this is a cool sequence. We get a close up. This character's name is Hawk. He's up by the statue's chin.
Please, General Hawk.
Just blasting away with his machine gun here.
One of the few times we see cartridges ejecting from a magazine.
That's true. Then we've got Lady J. She's got a fucking spear. She throws it. Then we've got fan favorite again, Flint, throwing off a bunch of dudes. Fan favorite, Roadblock. I guess they're bringing in some of everybody.
The heavy hitters.
The A team here. So he bonks a couple of heads together. I don't remember this guy's name.
Beachhead?
Is it Beachhead? And who's the other guy with him? Snow Dude? Is that what
it's not Snow Job, but I can't. It's not Alpine. I can't remember his name.
We'll have to do some research on that. Beachhead.
I have a lot about Beachhead.
So I've seen 30 minutes. Yeah, I've seen 30 minutes in. I forgot. Beachhead's a dick.
Oh, yes.
He's not a pleasant
He's dangerously
person to be around.
unstable.
He's got problems.
So we cut to Snake Eyes then firing some shots here. My notes, I wrote here, can we just call him Stank Eyes?
That doesn't even make any sense.
That's a Caleb-style joke where it's just a funny sequence of words.
I don't know why you're pushing that over on me.
Jim!
Jim.
Then we cut back to Cobra Commander. He's on the pod. This is a weird weird little sequence here. Yeah, so he's on the pod. Explosions are reflecting in his steel mask. That's a pretty cool touch.
Yep.
We see Destro, the Baroness, the twins. They've decided to get out of the big flight machine and take things on the front lines. But Cobra Commander.
This whole sequence with Duke grabbing the bomb and flying, like the way they animated this so dramatically, like it's really good.
Yeah, it looks awesome. So you've got Duke firing a rifle at something behind the viewer in his jetpack, and because he's a hero, a real American one, he flies down to the bomb, picks it up. There's 8 seconds left. He grabs it, heads skyward as fast as he fucking can. It takes on screen, I didn't time this, but I'm sure it takes more than 2 seconds for him to reach up there. But in bomb time, that's as much time as it takes, because by the time he gets up to the Cobra ship, you've got 6 seconds left. And we see it go down to 5 and 4 as he takes off, and then an explosion rips through the ship.
Which is a great explosion.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I like it when you've got kind of the pre-explosion
and
then
the big one,
the big explosion.
It's like pre-cum.
Very gorgeous. Yeah, exactly like that. We hadn't gone there yet.
I know.
I felt
I
wholesome
really,
episode until
I was
now.
waiting. I I wasn't sure what to expect.
Right.
So at this point, we see a lot of angles on Cobra Commander. He's commanding everybody to retreat. Cobra, retreat!
I like the
Retreat!
I do too.
It's kind of neat. What you really end up having is you've got a head-on shot of Cobra Commander. Then you've got a shot kind of from the side. Then you've got the same head-on shot, but from a slightly further away viewpoint. And then another shot from the side from the exact same viewpoint of
switches
the
up a
previous one.
I think it matched certain video techniques at the time for fun.
But it is neat in the it's from an editing standpoint. And
Now
so
for the most American thing ever.
Duke snags the flag, the American flag, lying on the ground, and he flies it to the tippy top.
I think technically that flag should be destroyed.
Lady Liberty. That's right. I think by the rules. They fly to the top of the crown. He waves it in the air as all the G.I. Joe comrades join him in a celebration of victory.
Yeah.
No lives were lost.
Except all those people that got shot down and fell to their deaths.
Yeah,
but
certainly
this is definitely...
Those are all battle androids.
This is well-worn territory, but this is definitely the most American opening. Like, they just should have cut to a baseball game and apple pie.
I would argue the Statue of Liberty is even more American than those things.
Yeah,
She's French,
Even
you
though
know.
She's French. Bill Murray.
She's naked under that toga, you know.
So that is the magnificent,
Yo-Joe!
amazing. Nothing in this movie could possibly be better than that opening sequence.
And it isn't.
But
Hey, listeners, it's all downhill from here.
But some interesting things happen.
Sure.
that's true. That is true. So normally we do a little thing called script deviations, but this is a different movie. There's different dynamics to the script. I don't believe an original Friedman draft is available as far as I know. And if anybody has that, send it our way. But
Oh, that was what I was going to say. Yes, please. If any of you listeners have access to an original Friedman script, please send it our way, because I did look this up. I spent hours Googling the Ron Friedman first draft of this. Could not find it. The closest I could find is the one was sold at auction. And there's like a tease of like 3 pages of it, which is the outline and the first page of it. And we'll get into that in the next episode, because it's the episode proper that has nothing to do with the intro. I will say that the only thing they kept from the Ron Friedman script is Nemesis Enforcer. Everything else is dumped.
I heard
Wow.
that. I heard that.
Everything's different?
So the script that you have in front of you then is a somewhat scrubbed version. Is it the
All I
final
have,
version?
I could not get the original script. All I have is an outline and the first page of Ron
I
Friedman.
wish I could
Gotcha.
get the original.
Well, so of the script that you do have in front of you, that's available on any DVD copy. How close is it, or from what you can tell so far, to what we see on screen?
It's very close. It's the Buzz Dixon. He's done his pass on it, so it's very close to what we see on screen. So it's not worth reading. But next episode, I'll read you the outline and the first page of the opening of the Ron Friedman.
I like
script.
it. Oh, I'm on my tippy toes.
Absolutely.
On the edge of my sippy seat.
You guys can't see it, but it's true.
Okay, great. Well, then I guess we're done here. You guys have any other...
Melody, did you have any notes?
Do we want to talk about Don Johnson or other pedophiles anymore before we close this thing out?
There's going to be plenty of opportunities to discuss that later.
Okay. All right.
He said sleepily.
So, just wanted to take a time real quickly to thank all of those who have supported us on the APDC store. Thank you very much. A reminder, we've got some artwork out there, a cup recruitment poster illustrated by none other than Mr. Ryan Jett for $15 plus shipping. And our pin series volume 1 is out there as well. Appreciate your patronage. Those proceeds will go to helping keep our web presence alive and just, help pay for this little stupid hobby. So thank you.
We're all still Aaron and I, at least, are still working on some new stuff to go up in the store.
It's very slow going.
It's true.
Sorry.
But there's a couple new posters in the works, and we're looking to figure out our t-shirt situation. And as far as that goes, then please continue to listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, and TuneIn. iTunes users, please leave a review, all that fun stuff.
5 stars, please.
And then our social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all of them at APOD and visit our web presence at autopoddecepticast.com. Peep the shop, check the merch. Ryan, are we going to put anything up there? There's probably a lot to put up.
There's Plenty, yeah. Please go to the website. I'm gonna put some fun stuff up. That this was a long, fun, like rambly one where we got a bunch of.
We need to find some
references.
pictures of Sergeant Slaughter in Arab headdress,
Yeah.
I will also put the picture up of Caleb in his Cobra Commander outfit.
but not the one picture. That I forced
only
you to
the
take
one
off
picture.
Facebook.
Please also, we'll put some pictures up of Don Johnson and his boat racing with Kurt Russell.
And if we can get a picture of Chuck Norris in the mix.
I have a picture of all three of them together.
Oh, nice. Was it a friendly competition?
Yeah, I mean, they were cool.
Chuck Norris.
They were cool.
It was an official competition.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't to the death or anything like that. You know,
Fair enough.
they are movie stars. They're going to be all right.
I'm glad. It's not like Vince Neil and Nicolas Cage fist fighting in front of, I want to say it's the Luxor or something like that. Have you guys seen that video?
Oh, goodness.
That's worth looking up.
Don't know.
So, a couple of years ago, somebody that was in a car driving down the Las Vegas Strip caught a video or created a video, and it's Nick Cage and Vince Neil, of the lead singer of Motley Crue,
Fist fighting?
fighting on the streets of Las Vegas on
Holy
the Strip.
That sounds-
If I remember correctly, supposedly they're good friends in real life, but who knows what they got into an altercation about. But they were kicked out of the casino they were in, and they just continued to literally physically fight out on the Strip.
You know
And
what
it's
I-
captured
you know,
on video for
if
all
I
of us
was
to
driving by and saw that, you know what I would have said?
see. Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
There it is.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, bye, bye.
Cybertron!
Brussels, where we sell good.